I want to thank you all for joining us here at Opaque. And the webinar that we're going to be showing is around confidential AI and how to actually unblock sensitive AI value and sensitive data. Some of the topics that we're going to cover today are bringing your own workloads, and that is securing your specific workloads without friction. We're going to be talking about verifiable runtime policies and then provable trust. For a round of introductions, my name is Clayton. I'm an enterprise account executive here at Opaque. And I work with primarily companies that deal with highly sensitive data. So you can think finance, high tech, insurance, healthcare as well. And then I'm joined with some of my colleagues who are going to be taking us through a slide deck and a demo here. Jason, why don't I turn it over to you?
Great. And hey, this is Jason. So I'm Director of Growth here at Opaque. Similar to Clayton, I work with highly regulated industries. So think healthcare, financial services, public sector, insurance. What these organizations have in common is that verifiability is the new trust standard within AI and AI systems. So similar to you guys, they have the same challenges around, keeping up with regulatory constraints, the changing threat landscape, data siloed across their organization. How can they guarantee that their data will not be leaked, will not be tampered with, in many cases, not even seen in their AI and AI systems? So that's the problem statement. That's what we're going to walk you through on this particular webinar. Also joining me is Trish, and I'll let Trish introduce herself as well. She'll be doing the demo portion.
Hello, my name is Trish Avila, and I am Principal Product Designer here at Opaque. And I am primarily responsible for the end-to-end user experience of our product and working closely with customers to really deeply understand their needs and the problems that they need to solve so that we can make informed product decisions and bring value to our customers and to the market. So great to be here.
Great. And before we get to the demo portion, I'm going to go through a little bit of our positioning, what we're seeing in the market today, really focused on that problem statement. So giving you verifiable guarantees that data won't be leaked. Also going to walk you through a little bit of the momentum that we're seeing over the last specifically 18 months. We've gone really quickly from a cool innovation to a standard practice, and I think that'll be interesting. Also, I want to make a note too, we're very collaborative with our customers and our prospects as well. We're going to try to add some of those interactive elements to this call. So we'll be doing a poll midway through, as well as sharing in the chat documentation as we go through this. So I'm sure everyone can see my screen. Trish, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Fantastic. So from a positioning standpoint, we are the leading confidential AI platform. We're specifically designed for AI workloads, enabling you to unlock sensitive data that historically has been off limits. And getting into that problem statement, how can I guarantee that my data won't be leaked, tampered with, or in many cases even seen? What's necessary to do that really comes down to a shift, a trust layer upgrade shift. And this is actually not uncommon in recent history. And I know this one isn't shown, but the analogy I like to use, because I think we can all connect to it, is the digital economy back in the mid 90s. So if you can recall e-commerce back in the day, you'd be crazy to put your credit card into a e-commerce site without TLS, which is just encryption in transit. So data encryption in transit, right? We kind of take that for granted. That was a huge unlock that locked billions of dollars in terms of a digital economy. We see what's happening today being very, very similar. And of course, it takes an ecosystem, to create a category. To date, we've been the glue really in that ecosystem. We host an annual confidential computing summit that everyone on this call is invited to. That's usually late June. We'll put the link in the chat. We have many early adopters in terms of enterprise customers. Obviously, ServiceNow is showcased on this slide. They do a lot of internal business efficiency operational use cases with us. They've spoken publicly about it. Bill McDermott, for example, spoke about the sales commission assist use case on CNBC. The demo that Trish is going to take us through, it's actually an HR assistant use case, which I think you guys can connect with as well. So that's the one we'll begin previewing in a couple minutes. Obviously, we have global partners up and down the stack, NVIDIA, Intel, AMD at the chip level, right, where that technology, that hardware enclave, the TE exists. Microsoft Azure, GCP, AWS, we're tightly connected with the hyperscalers as well. And then I'll go into our pedigree in a little bit too, but we come out of the same computer science lab as the founders of Databricks. So our founders are the same founders of Databricks. Now, I'm sure this will probably look familiar to you. This is your world today. And what our clients tell us is they're on a collision course, right? What typically happens is a CTO or a CEO comes in and says, hey, we are no longer a financial services company, or we're no longer an insurance company, we're an AI company. And that puts a ton of pressure on the head of AI, right? So then the head of AI has a number of different AI pilots on their desk that they have to get into production very, very quickly, right? And what happens in those pilots when you add sensitive data to the equation, right? You're on a head-on collision with the CISO, the legal and compliance officers. And unfortunately, what's happening today is that these folks internally, they have a whole lot of questions without a whole lot of answers, right? Because their world to date hasn't necessarily been AI security. It's been, data security, the traditional approaches like, observability and data masking and anonymization. So it's a really kind of a mindset of perimeter-based thinking and access ring fencing. So, really to unblock that, it's going to have to be a significant shift in an unlock. And, we've made it easy here at Opaque to do that with our verifiable runtime, which we're going to go into in a moment. Over the last 18 months, we've seen a lot of progress. I'll call it a couple items on this timeline. Back in September of 2024, NVIDIA and Azure made it actually possible to do inference and training and with the technology of confidential computing, which was, the huge unlock. Accenture has built multiple business units based on confidential AI, which we're embedded in as well. The latest being their process agent team. So this process agent team goes to their top customers and help them deploy agents. Gartner actually published their first research report back in August of 2025, really stating that tech providers who leverage confidential AI will outperform the market. So there's already published research from Gartner, which is huge as well. I think we'll put that in the chat as well, if I'm not mistaken. A big accelerator for us has been agent governance and agent strategy. Going back to that Accenture process agent team, they will use the analogy of an agent being a self-driving car in traffic, meaning they're working autonomously. You can't rely on training and service level guardrails alone. They're making decisions real time. And because of that, in these dynamic environments, you're going to need to enforce real-time policies. And that's what we're doing with our runtime, which Trish is going to show you in just a moment. Big tech is another validation of what we do. Apple, Meta, all have their own confidential computing products that they're going to market with. Think of Opaque as you outsourcing that through us, right? We are that trust layer unlock. Where you don't have to have a team of cryptographic experts or security experts or confidential computing experts in-house. We're doing that all for you. I mentioned our pedigree. We come from the same computer science lab at Berkeley as Apache Spark, which became Databricks, Ray, which became Anyscale. Obviously, we're well positioned to take on this challenge of confidential AI. And then to get into the nitty gritty, a little bit of confidential AI, it's leveraging elements of confidential computing. So those on the call who are familiar with confidential computing, it's the end-to-end processing of data while it's encrypted. So it's that encryption of data in use, right? So that's a core element of what we do. But then we're bringing a zero trust chain of events, starting with an attestation process. So basically an integrity check of all agents, models, and workloads before anything happens. So if that attestation check, which Trish is going to show you, if that fails, the workload or the agent's going to fail, right? So that's kind of check one, that integrity check. Then we're enforcing policies real time. So the data is staying encrypted, but we're also enforcing policies that you create in real time to make sure everything is kosher as well. And then after the fact, and this is huge for the highly regulated industries who have to provide audit logs to regulators or to your compliance folks, right? This is all out of the box as well, which we'll show you in just a moment. And then finally, to go into the stack and what that looks like. And our approach to date was let's create an application or let's create an application at the top. So an agent studio of our own based on confidential AI. So folks can get up and running very, very quickly. So, if you were to use, or if you want to launch agents today, you can do that with R. application, but a lot of our clients are using their own Crew AI or LangGraph. Where the real value lives is in that confidential runtime. So this is where all the before, during, and after checks are going to happen. Your key management. This is where everything exists. So it's essentially an invisible layer that can live underneath, right? Your Crew AI, your LangGraph. If you're using a Databricks or a Snowflake, that's where you're doing most of your processing. We can literally be your kind of confidential AI or confidential compute button when you want to run these workloads with this extra layer of privacy, security, getting that guarantee that you need. We're also integrated with the hyperscaler. So I think the beauty of this is that the hyperscaler all has this hardware, this technology available. It's just up to you guys to unlock it, and we're going to help you guys get there. And obviously, the TE actually exists in the Intels, the AMDs, the NVIDIAs, so it's actually in the metal itself. So yeah, that's my spiel. I hope to set the stage. Maybe we go to the poll really quick, and then right into the demo, so you can actually you guys can see this in action from Trish.
Great. I think we'll just give folks a minute or two to submit the poll. And then it should clear, and then I'll know to kick off the demo. Okay, perfect. So like Jay mentioned, I am going to show a couple things today. I'm going to walk you through how Opaque lets you unlock AI value from sensitive data while being able to prove that the data is protected at runtime. So I'm going to show two things. Number one, a confidential RAG workflow built in Opaque Studio. And number two is our trust center, where we'll see that workflow is attested when executed and auditable. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And we will get into it. Okay, so what you're looking at here is a real production style workflow. In this case, it's an HR employee verification assistant built using a confidential RAG architecture. It's worth stating why this use case needs to be confidential to begin with. So an HR assistant touches some of the most sensitive data in an organization, like employee records, benefits information, compensation details, leave balances, and internal policies. So if this workflow were running in a traditional AI setup, there are real risks. Sensitive data could be visible to platform operators or cloud infrastructure. It could leak through logs, debugging tools, or model prompts, or be unintentionally retained, repurposed, or exposed in downstream outputs. So any one of those failures can turn a helpful internal assistant into a compliance incident. So that's why this use case requires confidentiality by design with guarantees that the data is protected while it's actually being processed. From a business perspective, this workflow could be invoked by a chatbot available to permissioned employees, maybe through an internal portal. Instead of filing tickets or waiting on HR, employees can get instant, accurate answers to questions about policies, benefits, leave balances, or onboarding, all grounded in authoritative internal data. So the business outcome then is less manual work for HR teams, faster response times for employees, and meaningful efficiency gains without compromising the confidentiality of sensitive employee data. This is just one example use case to ground things in business value. On the canvas, you can see multiple agents, models, and tools connected to sensitive systems like HR databases, claims data, and employee records. This looks similar to other agent studios or workflow builders, but what's different here is where and how this runs. Every part of this workflow executes inside a trusted execution environment. So that means that the data is encrypted in use, not just at rest or in transit. The cloud provider, Opaque, and even the platform operators cannot see the data. Models only ever receive data inside a protected trust boundary. So when the HR assistant retrieves employee data, runs a query, or sends context to a model, the data is never exposed in plain text outside of the trusted environment. This is what allows teams to confidently connect AI systems that were previously off limits while maintaining their security posture. So like I mentioned, this is a workload or a workflow that's built in Opaque Studio, and our next major release will also be supporting the ability for customers to import workloads, like Jay mentioned, that they have built in other tools like Crew AI or others. So naturally, the first question that security and compliance teams always ask is, how do I verify that the data is kept private each and every time this workflow executes? So next, I'm going to walk you through our trust center where that proof is accessible. So before we dive into what you're seeing on the screen, I want to quickly explain how Opaque thinks about trust. We establish trust through a chain of attestation that spans 3 layers. The hardware the workload runs on, the Opaque platform managing and enforcing policy, and the AI workload itself. Attestation gives you cryptographic proof that each layer is secure and unmodified and exactly what was approved, and that all 3 are intact at the moment the workflow runs. So we start at the foundation of the chain of trust, which is the confidential computing hardware shown at the top left here. Hardware attestation proves that this workload is running on genuine confidential hardware and that protections like memory encryption and secure boot are enabled. This evidence is signed by the hardware itself, anchoring trust in hardware-rooted cryptography. The next layer is the Opaque platform, which we see over here to the right. The hardware measures the Opaque platform and includes those measurements in the attestation evidence. This proves the platform binaries and configuration haven't drifted or been modified. And importantly, this chain of trust doesn't stop at the platform. It extends all the way down to the AI workload itself, which we'll see in a minute. Right below here, you'll see your policy posture, which is enforced directly by the platform. So this includes data policies, like which integrations and data connectors are defined and active, and workspace policies such as approval requirements and guardrail-enabled workflows. Right below that, everything rolls up into operational evidence. You'll see how many workflows were tested in the selected timeframe and what percentage passed versus failed. And finally, the platform measures the AI workload itself. So this means the exact workflow, configuration, agents, models, and data access logic that were approved by the policy are what's actually running inside the trusted execution environment. And this completes the actual chain of trust from hardware to platform to the workload. You open one of these results here. Each execution produces an attestation record that can be inspected in the UI. And because it's cryptographically signed, it doesn't rely on configuration claims or trust assumptions. If a workflow ever fails attestation, execution is automatically blocked, and teams can immediately investigate and remediate before any data is exposed. So scrolling back up to the top of the page, you'll notice a PDF export, which gives you a shareable snapshot for auditors, regulators, or internal reviews. And the second tab here is the audit log, which is an immutable, exportable record of every action taken on the platform. So this becomes your after-the-fact evidence for compliance, incident response, and audits. So to wrap things up, what Opaque provides is a verifiable proof of execution integrity across hardware, platform, and workload, so you can prove what's running is secure, correct, and exactly what you intended. So this wraps up our demo. Let's head over and see if we have the results of the poll that we can share. Oh, and it looks like it's up. Perfect. Okay, so we have some great context here. We really appreciate everybody participating in the poll. It's input like this that can help us prioritize the concerns and the things that our customers in the market are most worried about or concerned about. So thank you for your participation. And I think at this point, we'll pass it back to Clayton.
Excellent. Thank you, Trish. Looks like there's a question in the chat here that we haven't answered yet, so maybe we can answer this live. One of the attendees asked, what's the integration overhead for moving agentic systems to run on Opaque? Now, that's a good question. So I might need a little more specifics around that to provide a more detailed answer. What I'll do is I'll follow up with some questions, and then we can get you a precise answer on that, so we can be more detailed. Other than that, I think the last thing we'll show here is our contact us slide. So post this demo, what we'll do is we will follow up with a recording. We're going to follow up with some additional resources, and then I know a few folks wanted to see the slide deck that we'll share as well. Another piece on that is really if there's any questions around Opaque, we're happy to have conversations around Opaque. We're happy to have conversations around potential use cases you might be seeing within your company, or even discuss use cases that we see with our customers, and then answer any follow-up questions that might come up. And And we're also happy to do tailored demos. Typically, what we do with that is we have a conversation with you and your team. We understand what your setup is looking like internally, some of the problems you might be experiencing today. And then what our team does, we'll create a tailored demo specifically for your use case. And we'll hold a session kind of similar to this with you and your team, and then walk you through where Opaque would apply. Other than that, we'll be sure to get the follow-ups out and the resources as well. I want to thank everyone for their time and their questions today. And we appreciate everyone attending. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.